And we're live, streaming from the footsteps of New York City. We are Music Matters with Jason and Tramm, and thank you so much for joining us for a unique podcast community where we explore the triumphs and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Thank you so much for helping us grow. We recently hit 1,635 subscribers, and every day we grow because people like you watch us, they subscribe to us, they share, like and share our videos, and we love it. It's just amazing. So thank you so much. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. And we have artists ranging from leading opera singers, international concerto soloists, Broadway divas and divettes, and we have everything in between. So thank you so much for joining us on Music Matters. We are delighted that you are here. We have a wonderful singer-songwriter duet. We have who have a beautiful cabaret coming up in New York City. We have Miss Catriona Fray and Alena Bernardi, who have a cabaret coming up on November 11th. And we're here to talk about that today. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for being on a Halloween edition of Music Matters. We really appreciate we can get you on here before your big concert in New York. So tell us about what is the Divine Feminine Cabaret, and give us a few things about yourselves.
What is it? Well, we can talk about what we talked about the other night. Mm-hmm. Well, we were looking at diva and what is a diva, and these women who we so look up to.
Yeah, since we were little.
Since we were little.
We're in the musical theater realm. We were like, wow, Bernadette Peters, Bette Midler, and we were drawn to their souls.
They're so captivating.
Their essence. We were drawn to their voice
and their vulnerability.
Yeah.
And their authenticity.
So interesting. This idea of the diva, the leading lady. Tell us about what makes a diva. Let's talk about that, because I'm an opera conductor. I've worked with tons of opera divas, and I love that. And there's nothing like these pop divas, these Broadway divas. Man, they get on the stage and just captivate an audience. What is it? What's that X factor that makes a diva?
I really do think it's what Alena said: the vulnerability, the authenticity, the opening up. We're into spirituality and chakra alignment, and so it's like the opening of the heart chakra.
It's like you can see every part of what they are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, what truly makes a diva, because they're so brave to share their souls, which is why this whole cabaret is called the Divine Feminine Soul.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were telling me before the show started that this is an all original set. You've been writing this song. How long did it take to write the music that's going to be on this cabaret?
Oh, I love this question. So, I love teaching as well as writing, and I worked at an elementary school for about 8 years before really transitioning into being an entrepreneur and a full-time vocalist and performer, and then coaching on the side. And so I, in the pandemic, started songwriting classes on Zoom, and I was doing them for the kids, and then I was like, this is so great. Why don't I do them for my friends? Mm-hmm. And Catriona was just right there with me. She was on every single.
We lost the feed there momentarily. We'll get them back on. As happens when the gods of technology are not kind. Our guests are from Hollywood, California. They're, I think we have them back. So we were in the middle of that point. If you could start that again.
So Catriona came to every class.
Yeah.
And it kind of began from there, because many of the tunes in the show were written in those classes, and that spans all the way back to, I suppose, like March 2020 was when we started. It was pretty much immediately. And then since then, do you have anything? That you...
Yeah, and some of the songs, we started writing them even before that. Like she wrote an entire musical, a one-woman musical, which she'll go on to tell you more about that, I'm sure. So we're bringing in that song, and there's a song from one I wrote when I was 16. So we really wanted that, like we were saying, that open heart chakra, vulnerable, where this.
It's very true.
Yeah.
We made a deep intention in curating the program of the show, because we have other songs that we could have done, or other covers that we could have done, but we were like, what is the most vulnerable material that we have? Like, what is really showing like the essence of what it is to be this woman who has worked so hard on their craft and who has worked so hard on like going in front of hundreds of people and busting out her soul for everybody to experience. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
So
you took that essence and you put it into a program. That's really exciting. And this sounds like something like that COVID that we all had to, come into terms with our emotions. I mean, what a perfect time to do that during COVID, and how beautiful you can share that with the audiences in New York City.
Yeah, we had to sit with ourselves in COVID. Everyone did. Yeah.
So this venue has quite a roster of really beautiful cabaret performances. Why did you choose the Duplex?
That's an awesome question. So our mutual dear friends, Jack and Benny Lipson, they're also this twin duo. They're incredible. We'll link you guys up because you would probably like to interview them too. But they told me about the Duplex, and in 2018, when I first moved to New York City, I wanted to do a cabaret to support domestic violence survivors because it was Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I noticed in my musical theater history, I played a lot of leading ladies who were in abusive relationships, like Julie Jordan from Carousel, Lucy from Jekyll and Hyde. So I wanted a space that would really be intimate and support that kind of vision. And that was the Duplex. And yeah, I owe it to Jack and Benny for referring that venue. And now we reached out just about a month and a half ago about this project, and Thomas, who's the booking manager, was like, yes, come, so good to hear from you, we'd love to have you. So I feel really blessed.
So exciting to bring this to the East Coast. Do you have plans to do this on the West Coast as well?
Goodness.
Yes,
we definitely do. It was so great because we've been performing our sets around LA. Just it's been really nice to just be asked and have opportunities to just go perform. But this is such a beautiful experience because we're really curating the program, and so it'll be a show, and then it'll be something that we can share other places.
It's just magic. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great what you're doing, and it's going to help a lot of people and really inspire a lot of people. And we all need that after the year and a half we all went through as artists and performers, and we all need that time to kind of like be vulnerable and to let our emotions flow.
And I love that you brought that up because we're actually going to make it a little immersive. So we read affirmation cards every day. We set intentions every day before anything that we do. If we have meetings for things, we set an intention, and we have a moment to just breathe before we start anything and embark on a journey, especially a musical journey, because as you know, it's such a powerful journey. And so we're going to have these affirmation cards, and even we have some like choir, and we have backup singers, and so we want to encourage people to even sing along and be a part of this journey as well, and make it their own, if that makes any sense.
How special. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So speaking of journeys, let's talk about your individual artistic journeys. So I don't know who wants to go first, but tell how about Catriona? Only because I saw Catriona in New York a couple weeks ago, and that's where we met, and I was just like, what a fascinating performer. We were doing, of all things, a wonderful James Bond concert, and my friend Michael Fennelly and his wife Megan Weston, they produced it, and my son played the drums on that. So I got to see it. I took a whole night off, and I drove back and forth to New York, and I just happened to love the music, and I had a blast. And Mike's a dear friend of mine, but I really enjoyed Catriona, who brought the house down every time she opened her mouth. And why don't you tell us about your artistic journey, where you come from?
Ooh. So I come from Fresno, California, which I call the land of Audra McDonald for all of us. For all of us musical theater performers, because it's true. She's
diva through and through. What an artist.
Yes. Yeah, and not only Audra, Betsy Wolfe is from there, Heidi Blickenstaff, Chris Colfer from Glee. There's kind of this, I don't know what's in the water. Maybe there's something in the water, Fresno, California. But there actually is truly an incredible community theater, just family there that really kind of breeds and trains us. And so I'm from there. I started playing piano when I was 3, and so that was my first introduction to music. But I always loved getting up. We had like sing-along moments where the teacher would play and we'd sing, and maybe we'd have some sort of percussive thing like a triangle or something, and I would just love to, I'd be, everybody come on, you know, and I'd lead the whole kids, and I'm 3, you know, and I memorized the songs, and I was just so passionate about performing. And my grandmother was sitting in kind of like the lobby of this music school, and there was an ad to audition for Annie, the musical. This is when I'm 6 years old now. She was like, wow, Catriona would be so great. Because I'm not only performing for everybody I meet, I'm also at home just making up stories and singing songs. So I've been kind of like writing music since I can't even
So
remember.
you've been a creator since the day you started that you can remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Were your parents musical?
Huh?
Were your parents musical?
You know, my mom, she would always sing, and I also have a younger sister, and we actually would sing in harmony and stuff. So that's kind of, I think, where like the harmony, of course, through studying music and stuff. But
your dad is also very animated.
Yeah,
and he grooves. Like he'll get into
yeah, and he loves music. So yeah, they're both very passionate about music. And my dad, one of his favorite movies is Grease and Sound of Music. Those are his 2 favorite movies. He'll tell you this. And he's also into like metal and rock and roll, and you know, so he's an interesting individual.
You had it all covered. You had it all covered.
And he's like, yeah. So yeah, so that's when I auditioned for Annie, and I went in and sang Tomorrow. I had it all ready, but I was 6, so they're like, you'll be Molly. So I was like, But later on, the director I kept working with this director, and she had me play Annie later, and there's a beautiful moment where she tells me on the last night, I did this show again so you could play Annie. So I was just, I know, I was like, don't tell me this. It'll go to my head.
I love that show.
Yeah. So that's how musical theater started, and I was just doing show back to back, just throughout my entire adolescence. And then I auditioned for musical theater schools, and I got into my first choice, UCLA. My dad's a Bruin, so yeah, another shout out. So I wanted to go to UCLA so badly. And I was just always very academic. I knew I wanted to go to UCLA before I even knew that you could go to school for musical theater. I just always thought, oh, that's going to be my fun thing that I'll always do. I didn't realize that you could actually study it. And then my mom was like, hey, you're coming up on your junior year. We should start getting you auditioning. I'm like, oh, shoot, I could go to UCLA for what I really love. That's awesome. I thought
they have quite a program over there, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I got in, and I was just so passionate about the program, but
we lost our guest there for a second. We'll get her back on momentarily. From the West Coast, our internet waves are in and out. There we go.
Oh, it's Halloween. This is why.
That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can get eerie, a full moon.
Exactly.
I took my boys out. After my rehearsal today, we did Dungeon Party, and then we were we saw a gigantic rainbow right outside the restaurant. It was like, this is amazing. Wow.
Ooh,
So
wow.
good omens for this interview today.
Yes, good omens.
Good
So
omens.
tell us about what you learned at UCLA. What was it like there, and how did that foster your musical theater love?
Wow. It was absolutely incredible. I just love how like well-rounded of a program it is. I knew because I love storytelling so much and creating, I knew I wanted to study playwriting, and I just wanted a really well-rounded program. I love languages, so I knew I just wanted to be at a university like UCLA so I could study. I was just so passionate about learning. And I studied with incredible artists like Lainey Kazan is still one of my mentors. She was Barbara Streisand's another amazing diva. She was Barbara Streisand's understudy for Funny Girl, and that's how she got her.
Wow.
Yeah.
She must have some good advice. I would love to hear some of those stories.
Incredible. So one of my favorite memories at UCLA was being in one of her productions. She did a Frank tribute show because she worked with Frank and actually had, a romantic thing with him as well. So that was
Whoa.
fun. Yeah. So she really intimately knew Frank Sinatra and worked with him and really wanted to honor his legacy and his music, and it was just incredible. It was just fabulous. And so she still kind of mentors me to this day. And Alena and I just did a show at the Mint in Los Angeles singing backup for her granddaughter. So we got to sing a couple of our originals. We sang background vocals for her granddaughter. So yeah, UCLA, I felt like really created like a musical family that I could take on. I know people who Bruins in New York too, and all over the world. So it just kind of connects me to other artists, which I really appreciate about going to a university like UCLA.
Now, how did you make that connection between the professional world and the university world?
Could you elaborate on that question so I understand what you mean?
What were your first jobs, professional jobs, after your training?
Okay, awesome. So a casting director in Los Angeles was one of my professors. So he was actually, had a part in casting me in Mamma Mia at the Hollywood Bowl. But I also did productions, like that's how we met. We did Into the Woods at Cupcake Theater in North Hollywood. And I really like to work with, like on new works, and then with companies that are like run by women, or like starter companies up and coming.
Yeah.
So I did a production of The Scarlet Pimpernel as Marguerite. And it was just in this little black box theater. We were wearing all blacks. It was like very really intimate, and we were all working together, and it was really fast paced. So yeah, I've had a really wide range of experiences here in LA. And that's kind of what propelled me to go, okay, I'm going to go to New York. And so that's how that journey began in 2018. And while I was in New York, my agency was bi-coastal. So I was able to audition in New York and come back to LA for different opportunities. And then, it's so interesting being in New York. It's a highly saturated community. That a lot of us women who look like us are in that world, in that city. So I really wanted to focus in on, okay, who am I as an artist, like outside of like the cookie cutter, okay, I'm a white girl, brunette, like going in for Elphaba, for the third or fourth time, in the callback, and we all kind of look like, I wanted to really know who I was and the stories that I wanted to tell. So I was writing a lot of poetry, and I also really wanted to know the business, because I was like, if I'm going to write musical theater shows or write music for musical theater, I want to know more about the business. So I got connected with a dear friend, Melissa Jones, who's the producer for Jagged Little Pill, Come From Away. And now she's the lead producer for Super You, which is going off Broadway very soon. I was working very closely with her and really learning as much as I could from her about the industry.
Yeah.
And production.
So much to learn. It's such a gigantic industry, and you also have the songwriting, and there's the playwriting, and that's going to be fascinating. And what's amazing with the art, I tell I teach undergraduates at Seton Hall University. I tell them that it's a marathon, not a race. I mean, the career is such a huge thing.
That is the advice.
It's amazing, and you never stop learning as a performing artist.
No.
I'm 46, and I'm a conductor, music director, but I just love learning new shows. Now I do a lot of like production work, and I love producing events, and I love producing shows. I mean, it just never ends. There's so much to learn. It's like, if you love the craft, there's just so much there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
So Alena, tell us about your journey, and thank you so much, Catriona. It's really great to get to know you.
It's hard to go through all of it.
If you missed anything, you bring it up as we go.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Yeah. So I guess I can start when I was little too. So my mom is a pianist, and she would play for competitions for young students when I was younger. But mostly what I remember is she loved Debussy. And so in the evenings before bed, she would play.
Your mom and I are friends already. Who doesn't love
I
Debussy?
know. Oh my goodness.
Love her. Miss Dawn.
Oh,
we
my
love
mom
her.
is
Yeah.
so fantastic. Yeah, so she would play through, Claire de Lune and arabesque, and I love romantic music, and it was, I'm just like moved thinking about it. But she was a very strong woman, and we had piano lessons, and then I would take piano, and she'd be cooking in the kitchen, and she's Italian, so she's banging around pots and pans, and she had a garden, so it's all like fresh food, and she has like fresh sauces, and she would make stuffed peppers. She comes over to our house and cooks all the time.
Yeah, she did this yesterday. No,
Yeah, right.
No, she did it. She did that
I
yesterday.
cooked one of my mother's recipes yesterday. I made chili. It was a great chili. At some point, come over. You can have chili at our house. But so she would be cooking in the kitchen, and if I played one wrong note, that was wrong, Alena. That was wrong. That was wrong. And I'm like, seven. I'm like, I know it's wrong, Mom. So that was like my musical experience. But then what's so cool about Dawn is that Dawn would buy piano books, duet books, and I played flute in elementary school, and so she would buy these jazz flute books, and I would play flute, and she would play piano, and then she bought a Phantom of the Opera book, and she would play piano, and I would sing Christine's part, or we'd do like Meg and Christine together. And then I got like the full soundtrack of the show, and I would just play it over and over again. I mean, I've listened to that sound, I don't know.
I grew up with Phantom of the Opera as a kid. It came out when I was in school, probably elementary school, I guess. And it's been on I've had friends. One of my friends is a horn player. She was on the show for 16 years.
Wow.
Can you imagine how many performances she must have played at that show? Oof.
I know. I just never got sick of it. And I remember hearing Christine sing, and this is something I do. If you get to know me, she knows me how I am. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm going to sing like that. I'm going to do that. And I just, it was like, I just kept whatever roadblock I hit. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So that was great, because I think that there was like a musical foundation that was built. And then I went to school for vocal performance and music education at Michigan State. And I just learned about the craft. I learned about how to teach it. And I just love music. I just love it. Mm-hmm. I love how it works. I love that sound is what connects all of us. My parents are also scientists. They're electrochemical engineers.
Wow.
So there's this big, very like a technical bone in my body that just fascinating. Like that and music, like it's just like the juice of the universe to me.
You've got the right side of the brain thing figured out. You got the science and the music. Wow.
Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, I don't know about chemistry like my parents know about chemistry, but I definitely like feel that kind of technical curiosity. I'll sit and like feel like the emotions of chord changes and why do they work together, and I just love it. And so then I graduated, and I wasn't working professionally at the time. I just graduated with my music ed degree, but I loved singing, and I wanted to work professionally, and I thought it would be cool to come out to Los Angeles. I had always felt called to come here, and I have family in San Francisco. So I was like, okay, well, I'll be at least close to some family if I come. So I moved out, got a job at this little elementary school, but it was like a private elementary school with like industry people in it. And they were looking for an elementary school teacher. And so I worked there part-time. They had a part-time position open. And I ran the elementary music program for 8 years while I was kind of like starting to get into theater production and auditioning and taking voice lessons and learning more about how to compose. So it was great because they kept wanting me to come on full time. And I kept being like, no, I'm an artist. I must stay part-time. But it was so beautiful for me because it really gave me the opportunity to work through everything I needed to work through to become kind of what I feel like I'm able to be today. And I also produced all of their musical theater projects for the children.
Oh, that must have been special.
Yeah, it was so special. It really was. And I really got to learn about production in a very safe space, because if like an elementary school concert goes awry, it's not that high of stakes. So now I'm working in the professional world as a producer, like nothing phases me. I'm like, oh, there's a problem. Okay, let's solve it.
I learned so much. I taught middle school for 1 year, high school for 5 years full time before doing my doctorate and going into a professional conducting career. And I learned all my chops, my rehearsal chops, by being in the public schools and rehearsing choirs and putting shows on. That's where you can learn your pacing. You can learn how to work with people. Those skills are really important.
Yeah, I'm getting chills as you're saying that, because it was just like it was what was necessary for me, for sure, was to be in that environment with the kids. I learned all that stuff. All the things you just said is what I learned. And now, working as a professional opera singer and a composer, it's like those skills are necessary.
I think it's wonderful that you both of you've got the opera, she's got the musical theater, and you can combine that into something new and interesting.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So what are some of the operatic roles, and what inspires you about opera singing?
Oh, I love this question. So I told you before that I'm preparing to do Fiordalici and Così fan tutti right now. So that is such a journey learning that score. Before the pandemic, I did Musetta in La Bohème, and that I actually co-produced, which was great. It was the first opera that I produced. And I work with a company called Guild Opera Company out here in LA.
Shout out to friends in LA who are producing opera. Anywhere in the world, we love our opera friends.
Oh, we love them so much. And Catriona and I take with the same voice teacher, Gabriel, out here, and he's the artistic director of the company. And then before that, I did Barbarina and Marriage of Figaro. And that was kind of like my first introduction to professional opera in LA. But yeah, so I love it. And then my one-woman musical is an operetta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I can say a little bit about that.
Please do. Yeah, what's it like writing a one-woman show? I'm always so fascinated by watching these one-woman shows. Boy, that's hard. I mean, like I do a lot of the opera things, and like to be one person in the show and no breaks, and you got to really be on for the full time. How long is the show?
It was an hour, maybe 105.
That's a tremendous amount. It's like, you think, how long are you on stage for Madama Butterfly? I think that was the longest role ever written for a female when it premiered. I mean, that's incredible. That's like at least double the time you're on stage for a gigantic opera like that.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that because of what we talked about at the beginning of this interview, where it was just so vulnerable that I was just like there for it the whole time. It's called Swiped the Musical. So it's about online dating, swiping, and it's a romantic comedy. But it was authentic for me. It was very honest. I think it was the most honest I'd ever been about myself and about my story and what I'd experienced being a young woman, feeling the pressures of a fast-paced society, feeling like I needed to do X, Y, and Z by X, Y, and Z time in order for me to have some sort of value. I got really, really honest. And I think because it was so honest and because it was my story, and it was also funny and everybody was having a good time, I added a little campy element to it. Mm-hmm. I dressed in costumes. I did different characters of the dudes that I dated. So it just kind of went by.
The stories may be the same, but the names have been changed.
Names are changed. They're changed. Yeah. And it's highly dramatized. But it was honest and yeah, so that was the kind of thing that I think inspired what we're up to right now too in my journey, because I had never fully composed something in the musical theater operetta genre before, but I just went into the depths of my inspiration, listening to Debussy and doing the operatic roles, and I love all different types of music, pop, jazz, rock, you name it. I just love music. Like I said, I love studying it. I love the different formulas that all of the different writers use. I love when I get to that point in learning a role where I almost am able to anticipate the choice that the composer is going to make next. I'm sure you understand this as a conductor.
Absolutely.
Because you get so versed in their language as a composer, and you're like, oh, I know what they're going to do next, and your body almost does it for you.
I like that.
I teach conducting to young students, and I teach them how to analyze, and that's my favorite thing in the world. I'm like, what you see of a conductor is like the iceberg peeking over the top of the water. 90% of my time is spent alone at 3 a.m. looking at scores and just memorizing music and working through phrase structure analysis and harmonic analysis and digging into what the why was this phrase 3 bars and that one 4 bars. And I always tell my students, you can't get in front of people unless you have answered these questions to yourself first.
Ooh, whoa.
So you have to know these composers, you have to know these works, and it must be the same for singers and songwriters. People write these pieces, and I just love the idea of bringing new pieces to life like you're doing. That's really, really admirable.
We want to take your master class.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
That was like, woo!
I'm always surprised when my college kids like, we saw your podcast on X. I'm like, you guys saw that one? Okay, you're the one. Okay. But it's I'm just amazed by the creative mind. I always wish, I'm like, boy, I wish I could sit. I've had some really great authors and some really, we had some real distinguished colleagues on here. And we're always talking about what would it be like to have like lunch with Mozart, like meet Beethoven, or we hang out with Sondheim. I've had friends who've done lunch with Sondheim talking about these legends and kind of how they think and why they're so unique and their voices are so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will
If
say,
each of you could have meet one of your idols, who would you meet and what would you ask?
Oh, goodness.
Gotcha.
I know, right? We should answer. I mean, the first person that's coming to me right now for some reason is Paul McCartney.
oh yeah,
Ooh.
you said this before.
No,
Yeah. We love it. Yeah.
But I think Sondheim as well.
Yeah.
I think those two. I just want to know like the Beatles and Sondheim.
Both pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I've had, when I was a kid, I really wanted to meet Sondheim. And I was just going to say too, he's the one that it's hard for me to like just know where he's going to go with it.
That's
even when
so
I really
true.
know it, I'm like, oh, this is what he did. And I feel like I'm in a constant cycle of discovery and rediscovering things in his music.
Yeah.
It's such deep music. His music is so deep.
Yeah. And it's
I love the fact that he studied with a lot of the great classical minds, like the avant-garde minds in New York, and then he he said he doesn't personally like opera, but I'm like, well, you're writing it, my friend. You're actually writing modern opera. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know he doesn't like opera. That's so
He said that. He goes, I guess he's not a big Puccini type fan, but it was just fascinating to me that like he actually is writing modern opera.
Oh yeah.
100%. I'm currently studying with Jason Alexander for acting. He's George in Seinfeld.
Jason Alexander's from Jersey. Very interesting story. When I taught high school, I worked with a drama coach who was an English teacher at the high school where I taught, and they dated for quite a while.
Oh really? Oh,
what a random funny story. I love that. He's amazing.
I love that. But he told us a story in class last week about him and Sondheim. And I guess they were at a dinner and Sondheim was like, I want to write a role for you. I want to write a show for you or something. And he's like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that, Stephen. And he was like, well, why? Why can't I just do that? And he's like, because he's an actor first. He's like, because you're going to want me to sing that damn dotted half note. And I'm not going to want to do it. I'm going to want to go with whatever is driving me in the moment. So I love
great.
that.
That's amazing.
You just Sondheim. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this rhythm.
Wow. It's amazing how these older generation actors and the actor of the previous generation, how they pass that along to all of us and how they keep moving it forward, and we watch music grow before our eyes. Mm-hmm. What's something that both of you, coming back to your cabaret, what's something you want your audiences to feel when they walk out of this performance?
That's such a
Okay, I've actually thought about this.
Yeah.
You know that feeling when you're like looking at a sunset or something and it's so beautiful and that you're just so in the moment with it and you're just like, wow, like nothing really matters besides like being right here, right now. This is just, wow.
Just being. I like that.
That's
yeah. And Alena and I talk a lot about yin and yang, the duality, but also the oneness in all things. And I love that she said that, because I feel like the yang to her yin is a little bit of like, when I'm really moved from any kind of piece, especially Sondheim, like watching Into the Woods, I'm really like, I feel like the oneness of the human experience. And I think we have that in our show as well, of like of just really connecting to the totality of, and the messiness, and but the gloriousness and the beauty of what it means to be alive.
Yeah.
And I know that's kind of like that's deep and kind of heavy, but that's like where we like to go in all of our
As you were
music.
saying, I was thinking of being alive.
Yeah.
A little bit of Sondheim in the background there.
Did that in class the other day for us, and
Wow.
yeah, so this is all tying together very beautifully.
Yeah, and I think the other like more like a more like on the ground thing there for me too is so like I told you about my parents being scientists and stuff, and my mother cooking and in the garden and everything. So I'm very connected to the earth and to just caring about the earth and growing food and all of the flowers that the earth provides for us, and all of the vegetables and the fruits. And I just think it's so fantastic that we just like live in this wonderland of abundance, growing plants all the time. And so I have a song in the show called the Mother Earth Song that I performed a couple times in LA, and I wrote it in the pandemic, and it's the voice of Mother Earth. So I also want people to be left with this like deep appreciation for our planet.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So
And very timely, as well. We have so many of our world leaders at the G20 summit in Glasgow.
yeah, so very topical in terms of that arena as well.
I think with the focus of your show, and it's such this kind of like this and the intentionality of your performance here, it's fascinating. I mean, it's such a challenging time for artists. I mean, it's the performing arts have come back to life. It's not the same yet. I mean, I'm noticing, that people are saying, "Oh, tickets were pretty good." Everyone's still a little bit nervous about coming out again. But I think it's important that we get out there and start to support our artists and find ways to get out there. And as we're coming back to life as a society and as artists, it's been a very challenging time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was it like when have you done your first performances back after COVID? What was it like taking the stage again?
I think it was in June, right?
Yeah.
I had my show at the end of June, and then we performed like right after that. It was good. It was interesting because it did, like, LA did this whole thing where like everything was open, and then we were performing and everything was open and everything was like quote unquote back to normal, and then everything shut down again.
Right, I remember that.
But then everything kind of opened up again. So it's been a bit of like but we've been able to kind of consistently perform out. It's just sometimes there's like logistical things to manage, the vaccine cards and wearing masks as audience members and stuff. But so that's been the experience. But we've been pretty open in terms of sharing with other people in the community that we have material that we are able to perform. Just whoever we can talk to and come across, what they're asking us, what we're up to. We're writing in the studio. We're writing new songs. We're available to perform if you know anybody, any venues. So that's been nice, just to have it in constant dialogue and then allow the opportunities to arise.
It's exciting. It's exciting to get back into what we all do best. I'm so happy to always see all my artists, my opera singer friends, my orchestral musicians. Everyone's out there working. Everyone's busy right now. We're all kind of like trying to make up and to just get back our performing out there. And I think it's so healthy for everybody.
Yeah, it really is.
Speaking of performing, I hear that you guys are going to perform a piece for us.
Yes.
Yes.
This is so exciting.
Tell us about the song and what was the genesis of the song, and what are we going to hear?
I think we have trick or treaters. So
Aww.
We don't.
Aww.
I totally forgot about this night. Okay. So, anyways, let me tell you about what it is that we're going to perform. So I, tying back to the concept of Mother Earth, I wanted to write a new tune for this show, and Catriona Catriona and I co-wrote this song together. And I wanted to write it about the body, the human body, and how the human body is like a dress for the soul. Like that was the concept, because I knew it was the divine feminine soul cabaret. What is a very feminine kind of concept when we're talking about the body and the soul? And so I titled it Dressings of Our Soul. And it's all about the food that we feed the body, and the words that we hear that have our spirit feel healthy. And that's the song. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to put this on the chat, and feel free to chat on the song. I mean, I can't wait to hear it. Thank you.
I feed her raspberries and acorns, crucifers and legumes, flower blossoms and pickled fruits, under creamy seeds and honeydew. I feed her blueberries and pine nuts, autumn squash and pumpernickel, cranberry with rye bread and buttered curry pie. The whole foods of my body are the whole foods that surround me. On earth it's a blessing, the dressing of our soul. Peace forever unbounding, bliss forever resounding. Surrender beings, it's heaven. I see 11 in the soul. I take her to peaceful places under morning sun, smelling books with magic touch, sing her into resting pose, singing angel lullabies, grace her with the touch of night, she releases fright, full moon poets are shining bright, the beauty speaks of evergreen, with misty afterglow. The whole words of my body are the whole words that surround me. On earth it's a blessing, the dressing of our soul. Peace forever unbounding, bliss forever resounding. Surrender beings, it's heaven. I see 11 in the soul. In the river, my reflection glows. My body's not a stranger, my spirit knows. Letting go in the flow. It's forever unbounding. My body's not a stranger, my spirit knows. Surrender beings, it's heaven. I see 11 in the soul. It's forever unbounding. My body's not a stranger, my spirit knows. Surrender beings, it's heaven. I see 11 in the soul. In the soul. In the soul.
Bravi, just beautiful. What a great piece. And after meeting you on the show, it means so much more to hear the song. So how can people find out more about the cabaret, and where can they go to buy tickets?
Awesome. Go get tickets on www.performingart purplepass.com/divine1111. And tickets are on sale for $15 online, or you can go to the door and it's $20.
Beautiful. Very affordable, too. That's not bad for a New York City cabaret, please.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I can't wait to hear the rest of your set. How long did it take to write these songs? When did you start conceiving this particular show?
I would say the show has come together over 6 months, because what we didn't actually explain is a couple of the more group numbers, ones that we'll be doing with our background singers, are songs that were co-written by our little community out here at the recording studio that we live at. So in our house, we have a back garage studio, and we didn't actually say this, but our music producer,
Cool.
the maestro that creates the music with us and will be playing the show with us, Danny Pravder. He will be the pianist. It's his studio. He hosts little community events where we get together as a community and write songs. So there's a couple numbers that were written by more than just Catriona and myself. So I think, and we started that when we all moved into this house together on February 15th. So we all lived together.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, so I would say 6 months, and then there are some tunes that obviously were written from my operetta and that Catriona wrote before we moved in together and started the songwriting classes. But it's been kind of that, but it's been very much the kind of thing where it wasn't like we did a lot of work. It just was something that happened.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear you sing this together, I hear both of your individual influences, but it's not like this is musical theater, that's opera. It's just kind of organic, and I really like that. That's really clever and interesting, and both, totally organic, not overwrought, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about the partnership is just the deep the deep reverence and appreciation for each other's skill sets, because they definitely are complementary and different backgrounds, but somehow when we sing together, it does a thing.
Yeah.
Artistic alchemy, right? Artistic alchemy is an amazing thing.
It's that.
Well, I can't wait. I'm going to try to be there myself. I can't wait to see it, and I encourage everyone in the New York. We have a lot of New York City people on the show, so and in this on the listening audience, make sure you check out these two extraordinary singer-songwriters, stage artists, actresses, and make sure you check out the Divine Feminine Cabaret on. That's November 11th at the Duplex in New York City. Any final thoughts for our audience?
No, just you can follow us on and on our Instagrams and Facebooks to keep up to date. But I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, just some parting words. If before coming to the show, just really listen to your body and your soul. Take some time before the show to just tune in to yourself, to your intuition, whatever that is for you. Tune in to yourself, and then you can tune in with us.
I think music's such a mystic alchemy, right? It kind of it's that thing, that kind of mysterious force that can unite us all, and it's a power too great for words. That's why we set it down in music.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, thank you so much to you both. Happy Halloween. It was great to have the trick-or-treaters join us.
I know, we'll have to go and get our candy ready.
Hopefully your pumpkin's still there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and continued success to you both together as a songwriting team and as individual artists, and I look forward to hearing about your accomplishments down the road.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All the best. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Please remember to like and subscribe to us and check out our website. Also, we have over 215 past episodes at www.jasontram.net. Thank you so much, and remember, keep music alive.